Good evening. In previous session, we have seen the concept of assertion statements. So in today's session, we are going to see about file handling. So before going to see the concept of file handling, first we have to discuss a small concept or the basics about the file. So first, we have to see what is meant by a data and how the data is going to be organized in our computer. Let us see first. So what is meant by a data? So generally, data is nothing but here it is a group of symbols. It may be any type of symbols. Already we have seen different type of data in our data types concept. So already we know different type of data like numericals, we know that is nothing but integers, and we are going to have floating point numbers. And if you are going to consider boolean type, we are having bool. Next we are having complex. Next we are having some other data type, range, list, string. Next one we can also consider tuple, set, frozen set, and so on. So these are the different type of data that is available in our Python. Now the concept is, whenever you want to perform some operation, compulsory we require the data. If you want to perform an operation, we require the data. So let us consider I'm having some data 2 and 3. So here I am having the data. What I have to do on this one? I have to perform some operation. So to perform the operation, I require operators. So here I'm going to do what? 2 plus 3. So that we are going to get what? 5. That means for performing any operation, we require the data and operators. Already we know what are the different type of operators that are available in Python, and also we know what are the different type of data types that are available in Python. Now why we are talking about data means, so if we are going to consider anything in our computer, if you see anything in our computer, it is nothing but a data, or it can be programs. Only these two things are available in our computer, or in any memory. If you see, we are going to have only data and programs. What this program can do, it can execute. So that means what? If we execute this program, to execute this program, I require data. This program cannot be executed without this data. So compulsory we should have data and programs. So now just I will tell you some basic concepts of our memories, also memory and processor, so that I will go to our file concept later. So now observe. So if you are going to consider our computer, digital computer, their main components will be, first one is RAM. So before we can say this one as a main memory, I should not say it as a RAM. It is a main memory or primary memory, I can say it. So main memory, and let us consider processor. Next, I am going to consider secondary memory. So here, so we are having many other small memories, or the cache memory is there, some other memories are there. So I am not going to focus about all those memories. Just I want to discuss about main memory and secondary memory only. So here, if you want to perform any operation, so here I am going to take some input devices we are having, and next here I am having some output devices. So now if I want to execute anything in my computer, so how it is going to be done? Let us see with a small example here. So let us consider these are input devices, and this is some let us consider CPU for example, and these are some output devices. So whenever you want to execute something, for example, I want to perform addition of two numbers. So you are going to enter what? 2, and you are going to enter what? 3. Whenever you are going to type 2 and 3 from the keyboard, it is going to be stored in a main memory. After that, whenever you are going to press plus, then what happens? It is going to understand that we want to perform the plus operation. So who is going to perform this plus operation, addition operation? In this processor, we are having arithmetic and logic unit. So it is going to perform that operation, so that it is going to perform what? It will take 2 value, it will take 3 value, and it is going to store those 2 values in the registers of the processor, and it's going to perform addition operation, and we got answer as what? 5. So the same reply is going to be sent to this main memory. That means here in main memory, what we are having? 5 is there. So if you want to send this to the output devices, that means if you want to print this one onto your output devices, I am going to send to this output devices. So in output devices like monitor, I am going to get output as 5. This is a small operation. How this is a small instruction execution, how it is going to be executed in our computer now. So I want to talk about this main memory now. So what is meant by this main memory? Compulsory. If you are going to execute anything in your computer, every program that is executing currently has to be present in the main memory. So what this main memory contains? Bootstrap program. One small program is there that is called as bootstrap program, and also some OS related programs will be there. So in this main memory. So after that, remaining space will be given for currently executing programs. So it is going to contain what? Currently executing programs. Now here I am going to use, observe now in my screen, here I am using some command prompt, here I am using some Python files, here I am using some GoToMeeting, and here I am using some Paint. So all these are present in my RAM now, so that I can execute these programs now. If these are not in my RAM, what happens? This will not be executed. So on small example, I will tell you, whenever this is a small application called as VLC player, observe carefully. So when I am going to double click on this one, what happens? The VLC player is going to be opened. How it is going to be opened? It will take nearly, for example, 1 to 2 seconds to open that particular application. What is the reason? So this VLC player is present in our secondary memory. Observe that this is present in our hard disk, secondary memory. So when I'm double clicking this one, if you want to execute this particular application, then compulsory it has to be loaded into what? It has to be, for example, here VLC player is there. It has to be loaded into main memory. So that 1 or 2 seconds, or it may be 10 seconds. Why it is going to take? Because the programs that are related to this VLC player has to be stored in main memory. Now VLC player is available in the main memory. So you can see the icon of that particular VLC player in your taskbar. Okay, then only that particular application can be executed. Now what this main memory is going to contain? It is going to contain currently executing programs in your computer. In my RAM, what will be there now? Some operating system programs will be there, and some background process. If there is any background process that is going to be executed, those processes will be present here. And next Python files are there, next GoToMeeting files are there, and Paint is there. So what now I am executing? This is a Paint application. So it is going to be highlighted now. Who is going to execute these applications? Processor. So processor is going to execute the programs or applications that are present in my RAM only. Okay, the task of processor is nothing but, or we can say this one as a main memory. Okay, so the task of processor is to execute only. Who tell this processor to execute? Operating system. Operating system acts as a manager, or it can be called as a control manager. It is going to control everything in our computer. So this is going to instruct our processor to execute the contents that are present in main memory. So the task of processor is to only execute, the task of main memory is only to store. Now come to secondary memory. So what is this? Is a main, I am telling this one as a main memory or primary memory. This one I am calling as a secondary memory. So I will tell you the difference between these two. Okay, now so let us consider there is one person is there, student is there. For example, in first year he don't know any programming languages, for example. So he know only after first year he knows, not first class, first year of BTech. Okay, he knows only C language. But if I ask him about Java, can he say? He cannot say. Reason is what? In his brain his brain is nothing but what? Primary memory, from where he can extract the data from his brain only. So from in his brain nothing is there, in his memory nothing is there about Java, so he cannot respond. So if I ask compulsory to execute or tell the definition of Java or buzzwords of Java, what he will do? He will go to somewhere like a book. He is going to use a book. This book is called as secondary memory. From this secondary memory, he is going to read, and he is going to read is nothing but what? He is going to take this data into primary memory. From here, it is going to take to the primary memory. Next, whenever someone is going to ask about Java, can he say or not? Yes, he can say. In the same way, here, secondary memory, from secondary memory, primary memory is going to be taken some files, and processor is going to execute that particular applications or files. Now, why we are talking about secondary memory and primary memory means primary memory is having only the programs or files or data which is currently executing only. Okay, whenever we are going to shut down the system, all this data is going to be erased. So that means what? All this data is going to be erased, nothing will be there. So it is called as volatile memory. That means what? Here RAM is going to be contained, primary memory is going to contain two parts. One is RAM, another one is small part of ROM. This ROM is not going to be erased, only RAM is going to be erased. Now, if I want the data from the RAM, can I access after 1 second if I switch on the system? No, it is not possible. Now, for this reason, what I am going for? I am going to secondary memory. What is the use of secondary memory? Means if you want to store anything permanently, here permanently, okay, permanently. Here what? Temporary. This memory is what? Temporary memory. So whenever you want to store the data permanently, then I have to go to which memory? Secondary memory. Now the concept is, if you want to store anything, it may be anything, any type of data in your memory, compulsory in your secondary memory, compulsory it has to be stored inside a file. Inside a file. So if you see anything in your secondary storage, otherwise directly if I want to tell, if you see anything in your computer, this means, see here, for example, this is my desktop. So see where the data is stored in file. Here, where is the data is stored in Python file, where the data is stored in PDF file. If I go into this one, for example, here also what I am having some files only. If I go to any place in my computer, so you can observe what final destination is what? Only files. Observe here. Only files I'm going to have. This is the image file. Next, this is what Excel file. This is what PowerPoint. Okay, this is what MS Word file only. Everything is a file here. That is compulsory. If you want to store anything inside your secondary memory, that has to be stored inside a file. So now we are talking about this file concept. So now already you have understood about why we are using the file concept. Because if I require, I means what? If my program require any data from the file, how to handle it? So before going to handle that, first we have to understand what is meant by a file. Why we are going for the concept of file? To store our data permanently. Why we have to store our data permanently? Because I may require the same data in future. Okay, in future I may require the same data, so that I am going to store the type of data in a file. Okay, next, here if I first I will talk about only files. This is what it is going to store only, let us consider in MBs of data. Next, if you want to store GBs of data, for example, then we have to go for the concept of databases. Okay, so if range is more than databases, I have to go to the concept of big data. Okay, in the same way, and so on, some new technologies are there, so that based on the data we are going for databases or big data. Okay, right, now the concept is we are talking only about files. Okay, now let us start the concept of files. So first I want to, this is a basic concept. Before going to uh, explain the file handling, you should understand these concepts. Now let us see what is meant by a file. So file, tell me what is meant by a file. File contains a data. I know file contains a data. Then how can I define a file? File is nothing but it is going to have some name. So I can define files as, files are the named locations. Files are named locations where we are going to store these files on disk. Why we are using these files? To store information. Which information? For example, I am going to take one small file. Okay, for example, Python file. Why I'm going to use this file? For example, to store some program which is related. In this, let us consider I want to write a addition program. In this file, which type of data is there? Only instructions that are related to that addition program only. So that I can say what? To store related information. So a file is nothing but what? It is a named location on a disk. So for what we are going to use? For storing the related information. This is the first point we have to understand about the file. And second point, what we have to understand about the file means. So why we are coming for the files? Because I want to store data permanently. Okay, I want to store data permanently. So that I am coming to the concept of files. So how I can store data permanently? If I store the files in, if I store files in hard disk, for example, or we can say read-only memory. I am directly writing hard disk. So if you want to store the data permanently, I have to use the concept of files, and that files can be stored in where? Hard disk, or we can call it as a secondary memory, or we can call it as permanent memory. This is basics about a file. I'm not going to discuss in depth about this one. Directly I will enter into our Python related concept. Now here we are having, mainly in our Python, we are going to have two types of files that are going to be handled here. First one is text files. These are the default files. Text files. That means if I call in a Python a file, it is nothing but a text file. If I am not going to specify the name like test file or binary file, by default, if I say a file, it will be considered as text file. Next, second one, I am having a binary files. So now in our file handling concept, I am going to show you how to handle these two types of files. One is text file, another one is binary file. So here, how to handle this one and how to handle this one. Let us see with a clear and neat examples. So first I will show you how to handle the text files. Later, after completing all the concepts of text files, I will go to the concept of binary files. Okay, now let us see what is meant by text file. Before going to text files, before going to perform operations on text files, let us see what is meant by text file. If I am going to see any text file, just I will open one text file and I want to show you. Here I am going to consider some I am going to take some data here. I am taking some data. So if I want to go to next line, generally what I'm going to press, I'm going to press enter. And here I am typing some data. I am typing some data. That means in character, that means if you're going to consider any text file, in that text file, each and every line is going to be terminated with a special character called as end of line. How we can say this is end of the line? Because here generally we are going to use end of the line as new line. That is nothing but slash n is nothing but new line. Here whenever we are going to press a enter here, that is nothing but it is going to consider internally a slash n. So end of the line for a any new line in our Python is what? Slash n. We can also consider this one as a end of the line. How we can say end of the line? Whenever there is a slash n character is encountered, there we can understand it is the end of the line. So here there is no slash n character, but here what is there? Here enter I am pressing here. Whenever enter is pressed, it is going to new line. In the same way in our Python, if slash n is encountered, automatically it is going to the new line. So in this type of text files, each and every line of a each line of text is terminated with a special character calling end of line. So which is nothing but a new line character. We are going to represent it with a slash n. It is a by default. It is a if you are going to a new line, by default we are going to apply slash n. Next, let us see about binary files. So what is meant by binary files means in these type of files, here we are not having any concept of terminators. So in our text file we are having what slash n for a new line, but in these binary files we are not having any separator like slash n or any of those separators we are not having in binary files. Now how these binary files are going to be there? So in this we are not having any terminators for each and every line, and data is going to be stored in the form of machine understandable language. What is meant by machine understandable language? Which is nothing but binary language. So human understandable language is what? Generally we are going to write high level language, human understandable language. What is meant by machine understandable language? If the code is written in the form of zeros and ones, we can say that it is a machine understandable language. So these two are the files we are going to handle in our Python. So first let us see in detail about this text file, handling this text file. So to handle any type of file, we have to follow some steps. So those operations are operations to handle a file, okay. Let us see what are those operations. First to perform any operation or to perform any read and write operations on the file, first we have to open that file. So open a file. After opening a file, we can perform some operation like read or write. We can perform any one, okay, or we can perform both the operations. There is no problem. Next, third one is after completing the operation on the file, we are going to close the file, okay. This is the order of handling a file. First we have to open a file, next read or write a file, next close the file, okay. Now first let us see about opening a file. After that I will show you how to read or write a file, and we are going to see about close the file, okay. Right. Now I will go to the concept of opening a file. Right. First one is opening a file. Here for opening a file, we are having a inbuilt function called as open. For opening a file, we are having inbuilt function called as open. So here this open is going to return as a file object. Don't worry about this file object. I will explain in detail. Right. Now just I will give you the syntax of this open. F equal to open, and here I have to write some name of the file. Name of the file I am going to write here. This is one syntax. Otherwise we can also have second parameter, that is mode. Name of the file, and here mode. So I will explain about the modes also. But before going to this syntax of the open, first I will explain what is meant by open. So see here, I am having one file on my desktop. For example, this is some ram.txt is one file. So if I want to perform some operation on this file from my program, this is my program. So this is my Python program. I want to perform a write operation on this ram.txt, or I want to perform read operation from on this ram.txt. So here I am going to write some code. So from my code, someone has to perform the operation. That someone is nothing but what I already told you in our Python. Everything is an object. In the same way, here when I am going to write open something, some ram.txt here, that means here it is going to return some file object which is going to be stored in F. That means here F is going to point to ram.txt. Very important point. F is going to point to ram.txt to a first character. For example, here we are having A, B, C, D, F, and so on. So here, whenever we are going to write f.open of ram.txt or some any file, this F is going to point to this first character of this ram.txt or any text file or any file. So by using this F object only, we can access or we can perform read operation or write operation on this file. Okay. So this point is very important. F is what? A file object which is used to perform the read and write operations on the text file. For example, text file here. So we can also perform any operations, but here we are going to mainly seeing only read and write operations. So this is the syntax. So here, what is this mode? Here mode tells, here just I am telling what f is pointing to this text file. Next, second one is what we are having a second argument called as mode. So mode can be read mode or write mode or append mode. That means what is meant by write mode? Why we are going to open this file? I want to read some data from this ram.txt so that I have opened this file. For example, ram.txt is there here. So for which purpose you are opening this file? For reading purpose, or second option for writing purpose, or for appending purpose. There are three modes are there generally. Those are what? Read, write and append. We can use any of the mode on this file object. So this file object, for example, if here we are going to write R, this file object can only read the data of this file, particular ram.txt. But if you are going to write W here in the place of mode, so it is going to perform only write operation on this file. Okay, in the same way, if you are going to write A here, it can perform only append operation. Okay, so the generally if you are not going to write anything here, the default is reading in the text mode. Generally what happens? Default mode is what? Text mode, so read mode. So here if you are going to consider text file, in that how the data is going to be arranged in the form of lines. Okay, so if you are going to consider text file, but if you are going to consider a binary file, that means here we are talking about what? ram.txt. For that I am giving what? R mode, W mode and A mode. In the same way, if you are going for binary mode, there what we have to here generally what happens? Strings are going to be written. Observe carefully. If I am going to write f.read, then what happens? It is going to return me some strings. Okay, or if you are going to write f.write, it is going to give you write what? Some strings inside this file. What about binary? If you are going to talk about binary, there we are talking about bytes. Here we are talking about strings. There in the concept of binary files, we are going to talk about bytes. Okay, generally when we are going to use this binary files, means whenever we are dealing with videos and images, generally videos and images. So I will show you example of images and videos also. So for now I am going to show you about the text files only. So here what we have to understand, so whenever we are going to deal with the text files, the data is going to be taken or written in the form of strings only. In binary mode, what happens? In binary mode, the data is going to be written, or we are, if you want to write anything, it is going to be written in the form of bytes only. Okay, where we are going to use these binary files in the when we are using the concept of images and some executable files or videos or any, we are having some files related to these binaries. Okay, right. Now let us see different type of modes. Here I have shown you only three, but these are general: read, write and append. We are having R plus, W plus and A plus. Let us see what are different type of modes we are having in our Python related to this file handling. So first one is read mode. R is nothing but read mode. That is, if you this whenever we are going to write R, it is going to open an existing file for reading purpose. It is for what? For reading a file. Reading a file. For example, if you are writing f equal to some ram dot f equal to open of ram dot txt comma R I am going to write. So this is the syntax for our reading the data, or opening and reading the file. Here in this way we have to write. So here what happens? F is pointing to ram.txt for which purpose? Reading purpose. For example, that means directly I can say f is pointing to ram.txt for reading purpose. So here when we can read, when f can read, if the ram.txt is present, then only it can read. That means if file is present, we are going to read the data from that ram.txt. If file is not existed, that means I told I want to read from ram.txt, but if it is not there in our system or in a specified location, then what happens? We are going to get an exception called as file not found error, because file is not there, but you are telling what? I want to read some data from ram.txt, but the file is not there. So we are going to get what? an exception called as file not found error. Okay, next let us see second mode, W. So W is nothing but what? Here we are going to open a file for writing purpose, writing some data to a file. Okay, here what happens? If you want to write some data, for example, f equal to open of ram.txt, and I want to write some data into this one, for example. So here if you observe, I want to write some data into ram.txt. If the file is present, directly the data what I am going to write, that will be written in ram.txt. And if the file is not present, here we are not going to get any type of exception, because we are writing. If that file is present or if that file is not present, there is no problem, no exception is going to be raised. If file is present, the data will be written in that particular file. If file is not present, what happens means that file will be created and the data will be written in that particular file. Very important point. In this case, what happens while you are going to perform the operation called as read operation or read mode, if you want to use read mode on a particular file, compulsory the file has to be present. If file is not present, what happens? We are going to get file not found error. Okay, next, in the concept of writing a file, that means if you want to write any data to a file, then if the file is already present, if ram.txt is already present, then the data will be written inside that particular ram.txt. If the file is not present, what happens? The file will be created and in that new file, the data is going to be written. Here one important point we have to observe is what is meant by writing. Now already in ram.txt, 3 lines of data is there. For example, 3 lines are present in ram.txt. So now what I am doing, I want to perform write operation on this file where already some data is present. So write means whenever you try to write something onto this one, for example, write off something here, if you are writing something, then what happens means already existing data, this is very important point, already existing data will be deleted, and whatever the data you are going to write now will be written here from starting onwards. Once again I'm repeating. So if you are going to perform a write operation, then if already some data is present in this ram.txt, the data will be deleted or overridden and a new data is going to be placed in this ram.txt. This is a small disadvantage of your write operation. Now next operation, so by this disadvantage we are going for one more operation called as append. So here we are going to open a file for appending the data. So what is meant by appending and what is the difference between appending and write? Let us see now. So in write, what happens? If the file is present, the data will be written inside a file. If file is not present, a new file will be created and data will be stored in that file. Now in the case of append, that is what we have to write, same syntax we are going to have. That is nothing but what? F equal to open of, we can write same syntax. So F equal to open of some ram.txt and I'm going to use what? Append. So what is meant by append? Let us see now. So already in a ram.txt, I will take some example. In ram.txt, already some data is there. That is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. For example, this is the data that is present in ram.txt. So in this ram.txt, we are having some data. So now what I am telling, I want to append. I have opened this file in which mode? Append mode. That means if you are using this F and writing or appending something onto this one, then what happens? It is going to add the data to this data. Okay. If your appending is nothing but what? If already some data is present, a new data is going to be added to that particular data, and this data is not going to be overridden, will not be removed. This data will not be removed. Whatever the data you are going to add newly, the data is going to be appended to this data. In the concept of write, what happens? If you are going to open any file in write mode, then if you are writing any data into this file, then the data will be overridden and new data will be inserted into this text file. But whatever the concept of append, if the data is present already in the text file, a new data will be added to that existing data. It will not be overridden. Okay, so this is the main advantage of appending. Okay, so here also same thing about write operation. That is nothing but if file is present, the data is going to be stored in the appending to that particular file. If the file is not present, then that new file will be created and the data will be added from first line onwards. Let us consider now file is not present, ram.txt is not present. So what happens? A new file is going to be created named as ram.txt, and whatever you are appending from your program, that will be added here. Okay, this is about appending. Now some exclusive operations are there. I will show you, tell you about those exclusive operations. Those are, first one, r plus. First one is what? R plus. So here this R plus is going to be used for read and write operations on the file. Very important. This is for what? Read and write. R plus means read and write on the file. Which file what we are going to write into file? Data. Okay, if we want to write any data or if we want to read, we can use what? R plus. So whenever we are going to apply R plus here, f equal to open of ram.txt comma, here if I write R plus, the meaning of this one is I am going to open this file because of to perform what? Read and write operations. But here, if the previous data in the file will not be deleted here, very important point. Here, the data will not be deleted. That means already here I am opening ram.txt. So in ram.txt, already we are having some data A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, for example. So now, if I am opening this file for which purpose? R plus purpose. That is nothing but read and write purpose. So generally in write purpose, what happens? The data will be overridden. But here with the write, we are having what? Read also is there. So that the data will not be removed here. So if you are going to write anything, it is going to add to that particular data only. If you are going to read, it can read from starting point onwards, that is from A, B, C, and so on. It is going to read the data. Okay, the previous data in this file will not be deleted. Very important point to be noted. Okay, so where the file pointer initially points, here the file pointer is going to be pointed. And next what happens? If I write here, it is going to be written here. From here it is going to be written. And next, if you want to read here, from here the data is going to be we are going to read from this starting point onwards. So R plus is what? R plus is for to perform read and write operations on the file what we are going to open. Here what we have to understand means this R plus is going to perform which operations? Read and write operations. That means here whenever we are trying to write some data onto that file, the data that is present in that file will not be removed, because with that we are having what? Read operations also there. So if you try to read something, if the data is removed, what happens? So nothing will be there to read. So here the data will not be overridden like write operation. Excuse. Okay. Now W plus. So here this is also same to write and read. Observe, both are same, but I will tell you. Read and write means first I will read and write. Here write and read. Write and read means here what happens? The main difference between R plus and W plus is here the data will not be overridden. Here the data will be overridden. Okay, or overwritten. That means what? Data is going to be deleted and new data is going to be added, because what is the operation here we are going to do? Write and read. First we are going to write, later only we will read. But here what happens? Read and write. We are going to read and later we are going to write. If we are going to remove the data, existing data, then what I have to read here? Nothing will be there. So read and write is different, write and read is different. In the concept of read and write, what happens? Data is not going to be deleted. In the concept of write and read, what happens? Data is going to be overridden with a new data, whatever we are inserting into that file. Right. Next we are having A plus. Okay, A plus is nothing but to append and read. What is that? To append and read. Okay, here generally we know that append means what? It is not going to perform any overridden. Here also we are not going to perform any overridden concept. Okay, right. These are very important modes: R, W, A, R plus, W plus, and A plus. So one more mode is there, exclusive mode, X mode. Whenever we are going to write this exclusive mode, very important point, we are going to open a file in exclusive creation mode. So what is that means? Here we are having, this is whenever we are going to apply f equal to open of ram.txt, and here if we write x here, okay, x indicates what? X indicates exclusive creation mode. For which operation? Write operation. We are opening only for which operation? Write operation. Here we are not going to perform any type of operation. We are going to perform only write operation. That means here the difference between, sir, this one is also write operation, this one is also write operation, but this is only for exclusively write operation. So what is the difference between W and X means? Here what happens if the file is not there? In this case, file will be created, but in this case, if file is not there, what happens? We are going to get an exception saying, that is file exists error. Okay, we are going to get which error? File exists exception we are going to get. That is, whenever we are going to open a file for exclusive creation mode or for exclusive mode, which is nothing but for write operation, here we are going to get, if there is no file or if file is not existed already, we are going to get which exception? File exists error we are going to get. So if already that file is present, what happens? We are going to open that file and we are going to write the operation. When there is a chance of getting an exception, if that file is not present, then we are going to get an exception. Okay, these are the different type of modes we are having in our Python: read, write, append, read and write, write and read, and append and read, and last one is exclusive for return operation, write operation. So here we are showing only about text files. I have shown you only about text files. What about binary? Sir, if I want to read binary or write binary, if I want to append the binary data, then how? What are the modes for that? Same type we are going to use, but if you want to deal with a binary data, RB, read for binary files. Next, write B, write operation for binary files. AB. Next, we are having what? R plus B. Next, W plus B. And next one is what? A plus B. And last one, XB. Okay, these are the different operations. So read binary files, write binary files, append binary files, read R plus binary, A plus binary, W plus binary, and XB. XB is nothing but exclusive for write operation on binary files. So these are the different modes we are having. So first one is what? We have to open a file. For that we have seen the syntax. After that we have to we can perform any of these operations. So just you have understood, R is for what, W is for what, A, R plus W plus A plus and X. So first, now in today's session I will show you about read and write operations on a file. So after completing, okay, after reading or writing, what we have to do? I have to close the file. What is meant by closing? I will explain now. Okay, right. Now see, here this is my Python program, and this is my ram.txt file. From this, I am going to read the data, for example. So if we want to bring the data from one place to another place, in between some path should be there, some stream should be there. For example, if you are going to here some tap is there, here my garden is there. For example, I want to get the water from this tap to this garden. It is what? It is nearly 100 meters long. So what I am going to have here, a tap is going to be connected, sorry, a pipe is going to be connected to this tap, so that the water will be flown from here to garden. In the same way, my Python program is different and ram.txt is different. Both are not in the same file. These are two or different files. If the data from one file to other file, if you want to transfer, in between something is there to transfer. That is nothing but one stream object I am going to create. So here, whenever I'm going to write f equal to open, then automatically this connection is going to be established between Python file and your text file. So after performing read operation or write operation, whatever the operation you want to perform those all operations on this file. After completing your operations, this is required after watering my garden, is this pipe is necessary here? It is not necessary. So I will remove the connection. This one I will remove here, and I will keep this pipe aside. Okay. In the same way, after completing that operations I want to, the I means what Python program want to perform on this ram.txt is completed. Then what I have to do? I have to close this one. Close is nothing but for closing that I am going to apply a function called as f.close. Now this connection is going to be deleted in between Python file and ram.txt file. So now I will write a small program to demonstrate about this reading purpose. Okay, right. So now observe one thing. So just I will show you once again. First, what we have to do, I have to open a file. So open some abcd.txt. I'm going to open. For which purpose? You have here we have to write mode, read or write or append or r plus and anything mode. So now what happens? So one file is opened and it is pointing by f for which location? Starting location. So and I am going to perform some operations like read and write operations. Finally, I am going to do what? F dot close. In this way, every program will be there generally. Okay. Right. Now I will write a small program to demonstrate this one. See, observe here, I am not having any files here, any text files here, just I am having a Python file here. So just I am going to write f equal to open of, here instead of f you can write any name, there is no problem. Okay, here I am going to write some shiva.txt, that means I am going to, I want to perform some operation shiva.txt. Which operation I want to perform, just I will write only this statement. Now let us see what happens. I am not going to open, I am not going to do any operation, just I am going to open of shiva.txt. Next, here after complete, I have not performed any operation here, just I want to close here. For example, f dot close I am going to write. Now observe what is going to be happened here. So see, I am going to execute this program. Okay, so something is happened, that is what, no such file shiva.txt. Reason is what, why we are going to get this exception? Reason is, if the file is not there, it will say clear that the file is not there. Okay, let us try with one file I will create here and I will try open. So here I am opening that, but I'm not going to perform anything. Is there any need of opening that file without performing any operation? Not there. So for just I am going to do what? I am going to perform some write operation, W. That is nothing but what? Write operation. And I don't want to write anything. Just I am going to open that file and closing that file. Now observe the case. Here is there any shiva.txt? It is not there. So now what I will do? See, is there any shiva.txt? Not there. Now observe, I am executing this program and you can file a new file, that is, you can find a new file that is going to be created on your desktop. So see, nothing is executed because nothing is there to execute here. Now observe, shiva.txt is placed here. Did I write anything into this shiva.txt? Not there. Is there any data in this one? Not there. Okay. Right. This is a small example. After first what happens, it is our Python file is connected with our shiva.txt and it is ready to write, but I have not written anything and I have closed that connection. The connection is deleted. File will not be deleted because I have created it. I have deleted manually, or I can also perform some operations by using a Python. Okay, but main focus is what? Writing and reading only. So before going to use this concept of reading, writing and so on, I want to show you some of the properties of file object. Okay, just I want to show you about some modes, some properties of file object. Now see, what are those? Let us see now. First one, so these are what properties of file object. First one is, if I want name of a opened file, then I will get a name by using a name property. Okay, next, if we want to see the mode, in which mode it is opened, I can apply mode. That example, f equal to open of ram.txt comma or I am going to write. Now what happens if I write f dot name? What happens? F is pointed to which file? ram.txt. So answer will be what? ram.txt will be there. Next, if I want to see the mode, f dot mode, it will give you which mode? R mode, because I have opened this file for what? Reading purpose. If you write W here, it is going to give you W, write mode. Next, I want to check whether the file is closed or not. For that, I am going to use closed property, f dot closed. Then it will tell me if that file is present or not. If it is, sorry, if the file is closed or not. If the file is closed, it is going to give me true. If file is not closed, it is going to give me false. Okay, right. Next, I am having two functions. One is readable and writable. That means what? This f dot readable, is it readable? Yes, it is readable. If I write f dot writable, this is readable. If it is readable, it is going to give you what? True. If it is not readable, it is going to give you what? False. Now let us consider writable is there here. Is it writable? Is f is can write into this ram.txt? No, because I have opened this ram.txt for performing what? Read operation. So here we are going to get what? False. So now let us see, by using all these properties, I will take one small file and I will open in one mode and I will find all the, I will check all these properties. So now observe, I have opened one file for write operation. Just I want to see the name of that one. So f dot name. So let us, I will execute this one. See, observe here, what is f dot name? Shiva.txt. That means f is pointing to Shiva.txt. So when I'm asking f dot name, it is telling that to what it is pointing to. It is pointing to what? Shiva.txt. Next, I want to perform what? I want to perform second one is mode. I want to see the mode, on which mode it is operating. So it is operating on which mode? Write mode. Observe here, W is there. So it's going to print what? W. Next, if you want to check whether the file is f is closed or not. Is f is closed? Here I am closing. Here it is not closed. So we are going to get answer as what? False. So we are going to get answer as what? False. Now observe same thing. After closing, I will print. After closing, I will print this statement. Now see, here it is not closed, but here it is closed, and I'm asking whether f is closed or not. So in this case, what we are going to get? False. In this case, what we are going to get? True. Why it is giving me true? Because here I have written what? F dot close. Here f is closed here. Then automatically here we are going to get what? False. Sorry, here we are going to get true. So first one is false and second one is what? True. We are going to get true. Okay. Right. Next one, here f dot closed is completed. Next, I want to see whether f is readable or not. It is for what? Writable. Okay. So readable. Okay. Now observe. So it is false. Reason is what? It is for which purpose? Writable purpose. It is not for readable. Now if I write writable, okay. Now observe. Is it for f is for writable or not? Yes, it is for writable. So we are going to get answer as what? We are going to get answer as true. Okay. So these are the some of the properties that can be used on a file object. Okay. So that we can get the details about that file, whether it is readable or it is writable, whether it is closed or whether it is opened, on which mode it is opened, and what is the name of that file, we can see. Okay. Right. Now I am going for, or I want to write some data onto my file. So here what happens? I have created already file is there. Shiva file is there. On this file, I want to perform a write operation. Now observe. Okay, so that I have taken that one and I want to perform write operation. So before writing the operation, I want to discuss few points how to write the data onto your file. Okay. First, what we have to do? First, I have to perform, as we have seen the steps. First, what we have to write? First, we have to open the file. First, we have to open the file in which mode? In write mode. I have to open a file in write mode. That is nothing but W. Or we can also open in append mode also, because it is also for appending the data into our file only. Or we can also open in exclusive mode also. There is no problem. Okay. So here we have to be careful about this write operation, because what it is going to override, it is going to override the data, of existing file. So we have to be careful while we are going to perform the concept of write mode. Okay. So now if you want to write something onto the file, some methods has to be there. So first method is write. Okay. In this write, I have to pass some string, whatever I want to write onto my file. Okay. That means what? This write of s is going to write the string s to the file and returns what? Number of the characters written. That means it's going to tell me how many characters that are going to be written. Next, if I want to write a group of lines, here only one line, one string. If I want to write a group of lines, I have to use a function called as write lines. So write of, here I can write what group of lines I can write. Here I have written what only one string. Here I can write a group of lines I can write. So now I will show you an example for writing the data onto my file by using write function and write method and write lines method. So see here, I have created one file. I have created one file object which is pointing to what? Which is pointing to shiva.txt. Is shiva.txt is present or not? It is present. There is no problem. Now it is opened in which mode? It is opened in write mode. Now what I want to perform? I want to write something onto my file. First, let us check, is there any data or not in our file? Is there anything in my file? There is no data present in my file. So that now I want to write something onto my file. So f dot write off. So what can I write in the argument of write? What can I write? Here I can write, I can pass a string. So just I will pass my name. Okay, Shiva I am going to pass. And okay, let us see what happens next. I want to add one more, my name I am going to add Rama, I want to add, and in the same way I will write one more line. Here I will add my name Prasad. So observe one thing here, I have added 3 strings here. Okay, right, now observe, if I execute this one, what happens means, so whenever I am going to write first statement, that is nothing but f equal to open of shiva.txt w, what happens means, from my Python file, f is there, it is pointing to shiva.txt to the first location, that means from where the data is going to be returned, from the first location. That means here what happens, I am going to write Shiva. Next, after that, what is going to be written? Rama. After that, we are going to write what? Prasad. So now let us see whether the data is written in, just I will execute. After executing this program, the data will be written into a file called as shiva.txt. Let us check whether the data is going to be written or not after executing this program. Now see, I have executed. The program is not going to print anything onto my desktop. Reason is, so onto my monitor. Reason is, nothing is there to print here. Just I am performing which operation here? I am performing an operation called as write onto my file. Let us check that file now. So see here, Sivaram Prasad is going to be written here in only one line. Sir, I want in different lines. Let us consider Shiva in one line, Rama in one line, Prasad in one line. So just what already I told you what. So we have to keep what? /n. So to go to a new line, I have to keep /n. So now observe, already some data is present in my Shiva file. If once again I am going to execute the same program by using a write mode, what happens? The data is going to be overridden. Observe that now. Already what is there in my file? Already Sivaram Prasad is there in my file. Now I am closing this file and now I am executing this program. Now see, program is successfully executed and the data already present will be overridden and new data is going to be written. That is nothing but what? Shiva in first line, Rama in second line, and Prasad in third line. Okay, this is about write operation. Now I want to write some data. Let us, I will delete this one. 1 minute. I will delete this file now. I will delete this file. Now if I execute the program, observe carefully. Is there any Shiva file here? Not there. If I execute this program, what happens? A new file is going to be created and the data is going to be present here. That means what? There is no error if file is not present also. If file not present, what happens? A new file is going to be created and data is going to be written into that file. Right. Now, second method, I want to write, 1 minute. Okay, I want to write group of lines in a single statement. That is what? Write lines. So now just I will use all these things in a single write lines. So here I will write comma, control V. Next I will copy the same thing here. So here how many are there? Group of lines are there. Just here I'm going to close this one as what? A list, as a list. I'm going to use what? As a list here. That means what? Inside this write lines, I am giving a group of lines. Observe this. Just I will delete. Now observe. Here I will delete this data to not make you confused. Just I will delete this data and I'll save this one. Just I will close the file. Now if I execute this one, okay, just I will add one more thing so that you will get a clarity, because you may think that that is a previous output. So that I will add one more line here. Now see, I am executing the program. So program is executed successfully without any errors. So now see, here four are added. That is what Shiva, Rama, Prasad and Kollu is added. That means what happens in this program, write lines is going to write the data which I have passed to it. This is going to be considered as first line, second line, third line and fourth line. Different strings it can be taken. Now observe, if I am going to give only one, what it is going to do, let us see. Is there any problem if I give one here? Let us try. Now I have saved it and I executed it. Is there any problem? There is no problem. Now let us see what that file contains. Okay, first I have to close this file. Now see what that file contains. Only Shiva it is going to contain, because I have passed only one. That means for write lines, if you want to pass one, we can pass, but it is used for what? If you want to write a multiple lines in the same function, I can write. There is no problem. So this is about what? This is about the concept of writing the data onto my file. Now, sir, here the data is going to be overridden, sir. I don't want to override my data. For example, already this data is present in my file. So I will save this and execute this one. Observe this. So in my file, now observe what is the data that is present here. Okay, this data is present. Sir, a new lines has to be added and I don't want to override this data. Then where I have to go? Sorry, which mode I have to use? I have to use a mode called as append mode. Just I will change this W to A. Just A I am going to write. Just I want to add just one line or multiple lines I want to add, no problem. Here I will write new line 1, new line 1. Here I will write new line 2 and so on. Just I want to show you whether it is adding to the existing data or not. So new line. Okay, 1 minute. Right now here I am going to write what? I am going to perform. I am going to add new lines, new line 1, new line 2 I am going to write. Here I am going to write new line 3 and finally I will write, okay, just I will write only 3 lines. Now observe what happens if I execute this program. So see, I have executed this program. So no errors are there and I will check my file. What is there in my file? Existing data is not going to be removed here. Okay, that means it is not overridden here. The lines are going to be added to the existing data. That is nothing but appending the data to the existing data. Okay, this is the use of append. So you can also, let us consider, I told you what, if the file is not there, it will be created. So the file was deleted. Now I will close this one and the file was deleted. Now I'll execute the same program. If I execute the same program, what happens? What are the lines? There are new line 1, new line 2, new line 3. Okay, now execute the file. Now observe here, one file is created and only 3 lines will be added, because before data is deleted, and there is no file, a new file is going to be created and these 3 lines are going to be added. Now this is the concept of writing and appending. Now reading mode, I am going to use the concept of read. Observe here, I want to read the data. Okay, 1 minute, just I will write the previous program. Right, just I will write this one and I will delete and save this one and I will write this data. Okay, observe, now I am going to write this data here. Okay, it is completed. Now see, I am going to change this one to read mode. Already some data is present. Observe that which data is present here. Some Shiva, Ram, Prasad, Kollu is written there. Now I want to read that. Now first thing we have to observe is, what are the methods that are used to read the data? We have seen what? For writing we have seen write and write lines methods. Now for reading the data from a file, first what we have to do? First we have to open a file. Next, while opening, I have to give which mode? The read mode. And next, we have to apply some methods to read the data from that particular file. What are those methods? First method is read method. Okay. Next, if I'm going to write read method, the total data will be taken. Total data. okay, will be considered from the file. Next, if I want to read only particular number 3, for example, it is going to take only 3 characters. That means what? Read of n. So it is going to take what? N characters only, number of characters. Okay. Next, n number of characters. N number of characters it is going to take. Okay. Next, after this I am going to take read line. In the name it says what? I want to read line. Only one line it is going to read. That means what? It is going to read entire line, entire one line. Okay. This is what? Characters. This is what? This is group all characters. This is what? Whatever the number we have given, those many characters it is going to read. This is for what? Reading a single line, entire line. This is read lines. It is going to read all the lines from the file. Okay, right. This is the concept. These are the methods we are going to use for reading the data from the file. Now let us see each and every method in detail. Now what I have written, open of shiva.txt comma r. That means f is pointing to shiva.txt to a first character. That is what? Shiva is there in that file. So it is pointing to s. Shiva Ram Prasad Kollu is there. It is pointing to first character. That is what? Yes. Now I want to read all the data from that. Which method I have to use? I have to use f.read. That means what? F is pointing to whom? Shiva.txt. From that I want to read. Read is going to give you what? It is going to read entire data. So whatever the data it is going to read, I want to save in some file called as yes, for example. So after that I want to see what is the data present in the test. Just write down print of yes. Now what happens? See, observe here. Here what happens? F is pointing to shiva.txt in which mode? Read mode. After that I am going to do what? F.read. That means by applying this read method, the data from shiva.txt, all the data is going to be taken into S, and I am printing that S onto my screen, onto my console. Now observe here. Now see, whatever the data that is present inside your, what we can say, file, it is going to be printed here. Okay, right. This is the concept of read. I don't want to print all the characters, just I want to print only 4. Read of 4. That is what it is going to give you only Shiva, SIVA. Okay, right. Next, if you want to read entire line, what is the first line we are having in that? Shiva is there. So read line, that Shiva is going to be taken here. So I'm going to execute. What it is going to take? Shiva it is going to take. Next, if I want to take group of lines, okay, what I have to write? Generally, if you want to take group of lines, I can take f.readline, f.readline, f.readline continuously. Okay. Directly, if you take read lines, let us check what happens. So what happens? It is going to give me group of lines in the form of list. Read lines is going to return a list. Why here /n is given? Because after Shiva, what is there? Enter is there. Enter is nothing but what? /n. It will take that line, entire line. After that, Rama, entire line, and so on. So here what happens? Read line is going to return in the form of list. So it can, all the lines are going to be stored inside a list. Okay. Next, some cases I will show you here. Observe carefully. Here I am going to read f.read line, and same thing I will apply 2 or 3 times and just see what will be the output of my program. So see here what happens. I have told f.read line and stored in S, and f.read line and stored in S, f.read line and stored in S. Now observe what will be the output of my program. The output will be third line. The output will be what? Third line. That is what Prasad. Reason is here I have read the line and stored in S, and second line is taken and overridden the S. Third line is taken and overridden this S. The answer will be what? Prasad will be stored in this one. Okay. Next case. So here for each and every line I am going to print that. Print of S I am going to read. Then what happens here? First line is going to be taken and that line is going to be printed. In the same way, same thing I am going to write after second print also. Second read line also. Now what happens? Second line is going to be printed, and after that third line is going to be printed. Observe now what happens, 3 lines are going to be printed. And space, why we are going to get a space? Here we are having what spaces. Print means what? It's going to take a new line. Okay, right now. And why it's going to take? First case is what? Print is for what? New line. And in our first line, what is there? Shiva and slash n is there. That slash n also will be printed here. Slash n is nothing but what? New line. So Shiva and new line is printed. Next, Rama and new line is printed. Next one is what? Prasad and new line is printed. So that space is going to be given. Okay, right. This is the concept. Why here space is not printed? Reason is I have taken only 4 characters. If I take 5 characters here, a new line is going to be printed here also. Okay, right. Just I will show you that case once. Okay, see here. Just I will take print of, sorry. Okay, here I am going to read of 4. Then what happens? Read of 4 means it will take, I will write read of 4 and I will show you read of 5 also. So what happens here? There is no space we are going to get because 4 characters in first line is what? SIVA only. If I take 5th line also, what happens? Now the space is going to be taken because slash n is there in fifth character. Okay, 5th character is what? Slash n. So that slash n is also going to be considered. Slash n is what? Next line. So that here we are going to get some space. Okay, next. So here we are going to get in separate line. I want to take everything in a single line. Okay, I will go to previous program. Right now, see here I am going to write print of. Yes, I am going to write. Observe, same program I am going to modify just by adding a and. Already you know this one, and equal to, I am not going to place anything. By default, what will be there? And is what? And will be new line. But I don't want to print everything in a new line. I want to print it in a single line. So if I write end equal to empty, it is going to remove the spaces. Slash n it is going to remove. This line is ended with what? Slash n before. This line is ended with slash n. This line is ended what? With slash n. So we are going to get output as Shiva Rama Prasad. Okay, slash n's are going to be removed here. Because end is what? I am going to keep nothing here. Okay, this is about read line. What about read lines? Read lines means what? It is going to read number of all the lines in our program. Okay, already I have shown you those concepts. So in this session we have seen what? How to open a file, how to read and how to write and how to append the data onto the file. And we have seen what? How to close the file also we have seen, and some of the properties of the file. If you want to know those properties of a file, I have shown you some of the methods and some of the properties. So in next session we will see some other concepts on this file handling. Thank you.